All right, guys. So once again, we got to talk about how radical the radical left is, because these people truly are the party of extremism. Okay, especially when it comes to children and the radical woke agenda that they are pushing on children. Now, you guys already know. We've seen literally hundreds of examples of this already. There are books that are being pushed in schools on children that are flat out pornographic in nature. Okay, I mean, you have books in which you have sexual acts being depicted between children that are written for children that are being pushed in these schools. We've all seen it. Okay, we all know of these books. Now, Ron DeSantis, who is the best governor in the country right now, he's leading the GOP in multiple ways, has decided to get ahead of this and to solve this problem in Florida by essentially coming out and basically banning these adult books in school, right? He's created a process in which now teachers can't just arbitrarily put books on their shelves that they deem to be fit or that they think that students should read. Instead, it has to go through a process of being approved by a librarian or somebody in charge before the book can actually be placed on the shelf in a classroom. Now, the reason why I agree with this is because we've seen that these teachers, a lot of whom are woke activists, and they are placing these books, they're putting these materials in class, okay, that are not a part of the curriculum in order to indoctrinate children into their sexual and gender ideology. This is not something that I want us to do in regards to having librarians have to approve every book that's in the class, okay, or having to oversee teachers, but the teachers bought it on themselves, right? Because these teachers, these woke teachers have infiltrated these schools and have started to try to, again, brainwash these children with woke gender and sexual ideology. So, hey, lawmakers have to respond, and we have to do what we got to do to make sure that kids aren't being exposed to adult content in schools. A reasonable person would agree with this, but because the left is not reasonable, they're actually melting down and crying over this, talking about Ron DeSantis is trying to ban books, right? And one of the people who literally almost came to tears over this was Dr. Rashad Richey, okay? And I'm going to play a segment of his show in which he talks about this, and he basically, again, almost cries over the fact that children no longer can get access to adult content and books. But I want to play something real quick from him to give you guys just an idea of just the false and just misinformation that this guy is peddling on his channel. He's not telling the whole story about what's actually going on here. Just listen to this.
Governor Ron DeSantis is now threatening to arrest school teachers because they have the audacity to have books in the classroom, just regular books. Let me give you this story.
Yeah, so he's saying that Ron DeSantis wants to have teachers arrested for having books in the classroom. Just regular books, he says, right? Just regular books. Again, what a hell of a way of just flat out distorting the truth in regards to what this legislation actually does. But because we're a fact-based channel, we have to work in the framework of facts, and I'm going to actually bring you guys a fact check so you guys can see exactly what this legislation is about, so you guys can get a better understanding of what's going on here before we get into Rashad Richey's ridiculous meltdown. So without further ado, play the clip.
Tonight, some Tampa Bay teachers say they are being forced to remove all books from their classrooms to comply with a controversial new state law. 10 Tampa Bay 5 o'clock anchor Joshua Dorwitz joins us now to verify what's happening here and why.
Catalina, right now, posts like these from teachers in Manatee County are going viral, saying that they're having to pack up their books. Some teachers, like this one, even covering them up, saying they fear being prosecuted if they don't. So what is going on here? Well, we can verify. This is the memo issued to Manatee County teachers about this just a few days ago. The district's chief of staff shared it with me. It is true, under this new state law, every book must now be approved by a certified media specialist first, based on very specific training guidelines from the state. You see right here, those guidelines advise media specialists to avoid materials with, quote, unsolicited theories that may lead to student indoctrination. Having unvetted books or books that aren't allowed could result in a felony charge. Manatee School's Chief of Staff Kevin Chapman explained to me that first, every book has to be cross-checked now with the list of what's already approved. If it is not already, It then has to be evaluated for approval. He said it's likely that many of the books in teachers' classrooms are already on this approved list. To be clear now, the district did not directly tell teachers to shut down their classroom libraries and pull everything out until all of this process plays out, but many are opting to do so anyway. Other districts I checked with, like Hillsborough and Pinellas, tell me they are still working out how they're going to review every classroom library they have. So far, though, the state has not said when all of this needs to be completed by. With your Verify, I'm Josh Sidor.
Yeah. So you seen that, you heard that, right? Okay. This doesn't sound like the book banning that the left is making out to be, as much as just, hey, look, we already have an approved list of books, okay? And all we have to do is just cross-check books that are already in classrooms that teachers have to make sure that they're good, and ones that are not on the list, then we just check them to see if they're approved, right? To make sure they're not pornographic, right? Yeah. This is the book banning that the left is complaining about so much. So without further ado, let's actually watch Rashad Richey here almost break down in tears over this book banning, right? That's being done by Ron DeSantis.
In an interview with Popular Information, Mr. Chapman said that the policy was put into place last week in response to House Bill 1467, which is now signed into law by DeSantis. That law established that teachers could not be trusted to select books appropriate for their students. In Florida, school librarians are called media specialists and hold media specialist certificates. A rule passed by the Florida Department of Education last week states that a library media center includes any books made available to students, including in classrooms. This means that classroom libraries that students that are curated by teachers, not librarians, are now illegal. They are illegal against the law. There was ambiguity about this during the signing of the bill. As a matter of fact, some Republicans assumed when they backed the play of Governor DeSantis, they were not going to eliminate a teacher's ability to teach.
Well, they're not. A teacher can teach. They're just eliminating a teacher's ability to have inappropriate content in their classrooms, AKA adult content in books, adult books that are being peddled to children. Again, this shouldn't be controversial, man, but apparently it is.
So the Department of Education basically weighed in on the policy later, which provided this now conclusive result that DeSatan wanted in the beginning. Now, what do we have so far? So the state of Florida says you cannot teach based on your literature in the classroom. Now it is a felony. They already passed the Stop Woke Act, the Don't Say Gay Act, the Can't Teach African American Studies Act. Now, damn it, I mean what I'm about to say.
Yo, Can't Teach African American Studies Act. You mean can't teach Black queer theory, right? Which is what Ron DeSantis had a problem with. Again, it's amazing how these people leave out so many key details in regards to why Ron DeSantis or Republicans are doing what they're doing, right? Again, if this guy came up here and said they're banning books that are pornographic in nature, do you think that it would have the same type of effect on his audience, right? His audience might actually think he's crazy, right? They might say, hey, you know, I don't agree with you on that. I actually agree with Ron DeSantis and Republicans, and he can't have that. You can't have your audience, the liberal audience, agreeing with a Republican saying that he's doing something that actually is sane, right? Can't do that. So what they do is that they go up here and they omit a whole bunch of key information and context that could possibly have reasonably minded people agree with Ron DeSantis and just say, well, he's trying to ban all books. He's just banning books. They're not banning books unless they're pornographic, right? He's banning those books, which again, every reasonable person should agree with. Again, if I was on Richie's show, I would ask him, do you agree with books that have adult content in them being available for children in school? Do you agree, yes or no? I would love to see his answer on that. I would love to know what is his answer to that question.
some teachers are gonna have to get arrested for this to stop. And I promise you, if I was still a K through 12 educator, they would have had to lock my ass up before they ever took a book out of my classroom with my students. At least they would have known what side I was on.
Boy, imagine almost about to cry. This guy's voice is cracking. His voice is cracking over adult content being available for children in school, guys. Wow. This guy thinks he's on the right side of history, right? He really does. It's crazy.
Now, don't say that lightly because I know it's already difficult for what teachers have to go through on a regular basis. I was adopted by a school teacher. My mother is a school teacher.
So what? My mother's a school teacher too. What does that have to do with anything? Has nothing to do with nothing. You're being emotional. You're not using any facts. You're not using any logic. You're being 100% emotional. Because apparently you agree with adult content being pushed on kids in school, which would make you a what? Groomer, right? That's what it would make you.
She saved my life. I became a school teacher because of her.
No, you became a indoctrinator, right? You're not a teacher. You are a propagandist and an indoctrinator.
I'm a college professor today.
Indoctrinator, right? Just like I said, propagandist.
I worked as a high school teacher, a high school principal. This is not about education. This is about creating a mind that's apathetic to the reality of this country. Here's what they know. They know the students, those scholars, those young scholars are the future decision makers of America. They know that these young scholars will correct what they broke.
Yeah, so basically what he's trying to say here is that these young students, which he's right on this, they're overwhelmingly liberal, right? They're overwhelmingly progressive. And the reason why they are that way is because, again, they're being indoctrinated and this ideology is being forced down their throat in school and in college, which is the left's goal. This is why they get so outraged by this, because Ron DeSantis, with the Don't Say Gay bill, with what he's doing, banning these adult content books in school, he's pushing back against the woke indoctrination that has infiltrated these schools, right? By basically saying you're not allowed to basically push your political ideology on children. You're not allowed to do that. And the left can't stand that because they're working through the children, right? The way they build the next generation of Democrats, of progressives, of woke activists is through the children. You get them in school. Kids in school for 8 hours a day. That's a lot of time to infiltrate a child's mind and to make them believe the things that you believe. Ron DeSantis is putting a stop to that, and they can't stand it. They're losing their minds over it.
We'll fix what they destroyed. And when that happens, the indictment will be upon them. They know that these children are going to remedy the social ills created by them and their ancestors. This is not about protecting children, ladies and gentlemen. This is about protecting themselves.
Interesting.
Please understand what's happening here. And now I have to bypass all of the bureaucracy. I have to bypass the politicians and talk directly to the teachers. Once again, I don't say this lightly. You're gonna have to stand up.
Stand up. Yeah, stand up for adult content. Stand up for pushing adult books in school. Yeah, stand up for that. Let's see if parents actually agree with you. Let's see who the public sides with. Get rid of the fake propaganda coming from this clown, okay? Lying, claiming that Ron DeSantis is banning books. Take that out of it. Yes, stand up for gender and queer theory being pushed on kids in school. See how far you get, right? See how far you get with parents. Look what happened in Virginia. Virginia got flipped red over this one issue. So yeah, stand up, right? Stand up. Yeah, I want you to stand up. Do exactly what Rashad Richey says.
We'll stand up with you. I will do whatever I can. I will try to provide some legal counsel by way of paying for some lawyers to help, whatever I can do, but you cannot let them do this. If they continue to do this, it's going to permeate throughout this whole country. The man is going to run for president. What do you think he's going to do? Leave it all in Florida?
He gonna put this country back on track, right? He gonna put this country back on track. They scared, bruh. They scared shitless of DeSantis, okay? They scared.
You think he's going to leave it in Florida? Listen, Dr. King had a very simple strategy. Dr. King had to show the world how egregious the activity was happening in the South. So he had to provide contrast.
Yeah, so you think Dr. King would be fine with kids being exposed to, again, adult content, right? You think he'd be cool with that? I'm just saying. Again, somebody needs to question Rashad. Do you agree with adult content being pushed in schools or not? Yes or no? Yes or no? That's what somebody needs to ask this guy.
People who were college students, high school students, had to become inmates in order to get things to change. It is a sobering sentiment, I know. But I promise you, there are some things worth getting arrested for, and children are definitely at the top of the list.
Pushing adult content on children is worth getting arrested for. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. This is the left, guys. This is what these people stand for. This is what they believe in. Let me know what y'all think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.